Hi everyone, Papa here. And today we are going to be flying our drone for the very first time. We received this drone as a Christmas present last year, an ASC 2400. From my understanding, it's basically a low-level starter drone. The drone itself, we have QR code for the app that we need, some spare batteries, the controller, we have some spare propeller blades and screws that go along with them. So now follow along as we attempt to set it up and operate it for the very first time. And if all goes well, we'll have some video from the drone when it's airborne. So let's see what happens from here. Now we're going to work on getting it together, getting the app ready, and we'll go from there. At this time, we have successfully installed the software. We've gotten the drone and the controller ready. The drone has been turned on. Lights are flashing. Now we need the controller on so we can sync it up. So Kate and Kai, go ahead and turn on the power to the controller. And now move that left stick forward and then back and let go. The lights all went solid. So we have successfully synced our controller to our drone. Now at this point, we're going to go out in the middle of the yard. Well, we're going to learn how to fly it. That's the... Let's get it airborne first and see what we can do with it. So now at this point, we're going to see what we can do with it. Wait, hang on a second. So do you remember which is the auto start, auto takeoff, and auto land? So go ahead and push the auto takeoff button and let's see what happens.
Okay, we need it not in the grass. I think it died.
Well, hang on a second. Let's see what happens.
Now?
And go ahead and just press it once and hold off. Just wait a minute. Okay, press it again. Just press it once and see what happens. Are any lights flashing?
I think we broke it.
We didn't break it.
I don't think.
Oh, the light's flashing. So the light's flashing, so I think we need to sync it again. So turn the controller off and back on. And now forward and back and back. And now try the auto takeoff again. All right. What we'll do is we'll get something to set it on. All right.
Yeah,
and
need a landing pad.
yes, somewhere for it to take off from.
I just hope the wings don't die by the grass.
The propellers are fine. Okay. So just stand by. Well, it's cutting the grass. Look at it that way. So I'll go get something to place it on. Well, our first effort to take off was unsuccessful. So go ahead and turn the controller off, please. And back on. And now toggle forward and back. And now try auto takeoff. And you're airborne. So now try to go up in the air.
How do I stop it?
Well, that's a good question. Go ahead and hit the auto land. And it landed. Good job. I'm gonna go get it.
Every time I put a stop,
well, that's why we need to learn the controls of it. So what we want to try to do initially is just take it straight up into the air. So,
I want to have fun.
as do I. The propellers were still spinning, so I turned it off.
Give it a second.
Well, I didn't want to pick it up with the propellers spinning.
Why didn't you stop?
I did, I turned it off.
That's not helping.
Now, I turned it back on. Now, this time we're going to try to take some video from the drone itself. Here we are launching the drone again. We were starting to get somewhat experienced at that point after just a short while of familiarizing ourselves with the controls. Flying it now about 10 feet off the ground or so. Little challenging to see it with the trees in the background. It was somewhat challenging for us to see it as well, especially on the camera. Here we are swinging it around, bringing it back towards us. Aiden Kai, what was your impression as we were flying it for the first few times?
Well, I loved it. I mean, the first time it didn't really work out, and then we figured out that it was just the grass, simply just the grass. And then, but other than that, I had a great time.
And then we were able to keep it moving. What we did find was this was a relatively windless day. So we were able to somewhat keep it under control. Since that day, we've had it out a few other times where even with a gentle breeze, it became quite challenging. You can see here we were getting the hang of it and taking it high into the sky, as high up as we felt comfortable on our first day of using it. Again, it's a low-level drone starter model. Now here's some video from the drone camera itself. Not the highest quality. Again, it's a basic drone. I'm holding the drone with the camera pointed at Caden Kai while we're looking at the same image on the app on the phone. And here you see view from the drone camera as we take off into the air with it. What do you think of this footage, Caden, and being able to see from the sky?
Amazing. It feels like I'm flying. I'm just flying.
Yes.
The camera's flying, actually.
The camera's flying, but it gives us the impression, the feeling of flying when we're watching the video. We landed it, and here we are taking off again. You can see us standing there controlling
Whoa,
it.
I'm getting dizzy.
I know. Well, we apologize if anyone else is getting dizzy. We were certainly by no means experts at controlling it. We were just trying to keep it flying.
Mayday, mayday, we're crashing, mayday.
We did crash it into the trees a few times, didn't we? This time I think we just landed it near a tree, and here we are taking off again. You can see the pine trees and some fruit trees there in the foreground. Trying to get it over those fruit trees and get it above the pine trees.
Kind of looks like
it around.
A giant holding the camera, just walking around the whole thing.
That's an interesting perspective, especially when it gets up high like this, like a giant is holding it high in the sky.
Oh,
So
the
this-
sunset.
This was one of the times, yes, it was starting to get a little darker. You saw us on the ground there, and
Oh, whoa.
Yes. The issue is the camera faces in one direction. It's not at the bottom of the drone. So when we're flying, the camera is seeing whatever direction you're flying, and if we're trying to turn it around, here was a good shot. We were somewhat controlling it, getting a little bit higher up. trying to keep the drone under control. The camera footage was secondary to keeping the drone under control, not crashing it into the house or a tree.
Yes, definitely not that. We don't want crashes. I mean, we crashed one time. I mean, no, 2 times, but...
A few times it got a little far away from us.
There were the dogs.
There were the dogs. By now
were so floofy.
They were. We had brought the dogs out at that point and staked them to their leashes in the ground so they wouldn't go chasing the drone.
I want the dogs to be that floofy again.
Yes, that was before they got haircuts, wasn't it? And they're barking. You don't hear them because there is no audio capability on this drone camera. It just has video capability. If
we get another one, it's definitely gonna be more high advanced, maybe camera on the bottom, and probably it will be more skilled since we've done this before. And maybe by definitely have voices in the video that the camera takes too.
Yes, certainly someday we'll get an upgraded version. For now, we're getting the hang of this one still. We've only had it out a few times since then.
You're saying, yes, I want orange juice. Yes.
Who's saying?
The thing was going,
but it was nodding yes.
Yes, I want orange juice.
So
yes.
You confused me there. And here we are, bringing it back down again, flying it around.
Welcome to Papa's confusing corner. Well, Papa gets confuses.
That's right, you did confuse me. And
yes,
here we are, bringing it in for a landing. At least trying to bring it in for a landing. Getting used to flying it was one thing. Getting used to landing it took another skill set. We were doing our best. Fortunately, we have a large yard and we're not near a lot of other houses. You do see the neighbor's house there and the neighbor's yard in some of the shots, but we still have plenty of wide open spaces in our yard. We're able to practice controlling it in the middle of the yard and bringing it down for a landing. What we were trying to do was to get used to bringing it in for a landing as close to the takeoff platform as possible. You see me moving around there in the background, trying to bring it in and land it. We're about 20 feet away from the takeoff and landing point. You see carrying the drone now. There's Kate and Kai. There you are, looking at the drone, looking at the camera.
Small.
I know, it's the perspective. It's because the camera's looking from a different angle, looking from below. And there you are now.
I look like I'm 2 years old.
And here we are, taking off again. Time for another go at it, seeing what we can do this time.
Whee!
Trying to control it, take it towards the edge of the property while getting it airborne, getting it as high as we could. That's a pretty good view, fairly stable. You can see our house there in the background. Swinging it around again. At this point, we were trying to just take it straight up in the air. The spinning is because if it was flying in one direction away from where we were, we tried to turn it around and bring it back. There you see our backyard and side yard. And there's the tree line along the neighbor's driveway. It's fairly high at this point. What was your thought at that point when we were getting it that high, Kate and Kai?
It definitely, we we definitely took it higher than we did last time we took it up. Oh, a little frozen. Yeah, we definitely took it higher.
And we brought it back down again, and now we are taking off once more. This is actually a different day. This was a few weeks later that we had it out for our second go at it. And in the background, you see the dogs. They were in an earlier shot. You saw the dogs and Mima and Mommy. In fact, I believe Mima there she is, picking apples off one of the apple trees in our front yard. Of the fruit trees that we have out there, 2 of them had apples this year. There we are, bringing it past the center of our yard, turning it around again. And Kate and Kai, you're sitting in Mommy's lap with the dogs near you while Mima picks some apples.
It was a fluffy. Ah, they look like footballs.
Yes, the dogs did look like fur balls then. Their hair will grow back.
Yeah.
Since they are both golden doodles, they have hair, not fur, and it needs to be cut or groomed. At this point, they needed haircuts, which they've since gotten.
It'll take a year for all of this to go back.
It may take a while. I'd say by the end of winter.
Don't crash in the tree. Don't crash in the tree.
That's right. Going above the apple tree. See a lot of apples on that tree. Coming up and over. Trying to get it above the trees.
No. Mayday. 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 Mayday.
And this was one of the crash landings.
We've been shot. We've been shot. We've been shot. Children.
And it appeared to be shot down into the tree. And there I am. You see my feet as I'm looking for it. And looking around the tree. And there you are, looking for it as well. And then you found it there in the tree. And we took it for another attempt.
Don't crash.
That's always the goal. Don't crash is always the goal.
Oh, yeah.
There we are. Now we're starting to get up there.
Yeah, definitely.
We're above the fruit trees.
Oh.
Getting higher. Spinning it around.
That's you?
Yes, there I was controlling it. You saw our house.
Whoa, Disney.
Swinging it around again. And trying to take it straight up in the air. Trying to. Not always successfully.
Not always successful.
No. But it's good that we were able to get some practice with a small drone, and I like the fact that it has a camera on it, so we can get some footage of where it's going, what it's seeing from up in the air. There's Mommy with Hanalei. There you go, running past. Are we going to crash it again?
No.
Turning it around now to bring it away from the trees. You see the landing box in the middle of the yard. It wasn't trying to land.
It looks like our mulch hat, but it's actually a box.
That's right.
In the middle.
Here we are. Got it pretty high at this point. Not above the neighbor's trees, but above our pine trees. At least the side yard pine trees. And still working to bring it around.
Oh, dizzy.
Trying to take it up into the air. There's the neighbor's house as I'm bringing it back.
I don't think you'll bring it back. I think you'll bring it back to the neighbor's house.
Well, bringing it back towards the center of the yard.
Oh.
I was trying to take it up as high as I could at that point. But now it's coming back down again. Trying not to hit anyone or anything. Slight freeze of the camera.
Slight freeze of the camera.
And there you are, and there was me controlling it. And yeah, it froze a couple of times, but for the most part the camera worked well. And there you are. And there goes the camera again. You're backing out of the way, trying to bring it in for a landing. Swinging around again. Now going back toward the fruit trees, the orchard as we call it. There's Koakai in the foreground.
Oh, look at Hanalei.
Hanalei in the background. There's Mima still picking some apples. But it's still flying about 3 feet off the ground. Swinging it back around again. Wasn't deliberately trying to take it in full circles. In fact, we didn't deliberately try to do any stunts. The instructions that came with the drone does talk about how to auto start and auto land, how to manual start and stop. It does have a speed button on it. It says the default speed is slow. There's also a medium speed and a high speed.
I want to go next time. I want to go high speed and do stunts.
Yes, we can do that. We'll find a good day with no breeze to go out there. We've only had it at the default slow speed. And it would be fun now that we've gotten a little bit of practice with it.
A little used to it. Probably still going to crash it, but...
Likely, yes. That's why we bought some extra propeller blades, some spare batteries. It came with one battery, but we bought 3 spares. Each battery lasts about 15 minutes.
I don't know why it came with one battery. I would expect it would come with 3 like you bought.
Right, with more than one. But I had done some research when we bought it and bought the propeller blades and the spare batteries. So when it runs out of battery, and you can tell when it's running out of battery, you lose a lot of the control over it. It's not as responsive. Again, not deliberately trying to get you dizzy with this video, but trying to keep the drone under control and take it as high as we can. Now back to the instructions that came with it, along with having a slow, medium, and high speed. It does talk about how to perform 360-degree stunt rolls, which we have not yet done. What do you think about doing stunt rolls?
Stunt rolls?
You want to do some stunts with it? Yeah, I know the answer to that.
I want to crash it again.
Well, now this video is from when we had it up at its highest point. So you saw earlier when we were recording the drone itself from our camera, you saw that we got it up in the air pretty high at one point.
At this point, it just looks like Ant-Man when he's in his biggest form, is just moving the camera.
That's right, looking down on that puny neighborhood, that puny yard and puny house. At least that's the perspective when you're this high in the air. And you see our house as the camera is panning around.
You're just little Aikido figures.
That's right, just like a little toy. But you can see the countryside, the neighborhood and the countryside. A lot of trees.
A lot of trees. When you're living in the country like us, there's a lot of trees.
Yes, there are.
There's tree, house.
That's right. The instructions also talk about doing flight practice, about doing fixed point landings, which we were doing, trying to bring it down at a specific spot. And it talks about doing a square pattern maneuver.
Square pattern maneuver?
Just flying it in a square, taking it up in the air and flying it in a square. And
Could
doing
you do a circle?
You can do a circle.
Rectangle?
Yes.
Stop sign?
Yes. Which is 8-sided or an octagon. And a cross pattern maneuver, that is doing it in a figure X, if you will.
Just boom, boom.
Now you see, so this was filmed late summer, early fall, so the trees still had all of their leaves, most of them. Perhaps a little bit of color change starting at this point, but mostly green. Now you can see far into the distance. So this was up pretty high at this point and fairly stable. If it had been a windy day or even a slight breeze that day, we would not have been able to get it up that high with that kind of control. We were getting some good footage. What do you think of these shots, Kate and Kai?
Oh, wow. Oh, dizzy, 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 dizzy.
Besides dizzy, what do you think? Pretty impressive being able to see that far.
Pretty impressive. A normal human can't, like, see this far. I mean, unless you're like a helicopter, like in a jet or an airplane. But
that's right.
normal humans don't get to be look like this perspective.
I know, just standing in our front yard, being able to send a drone up and get this kind of footage, certainly not something that I could have done when I was your age.
Oh, definitely not.
Which wasn't that long ago. I thank you very much. But yes, definitely a nice view of the countryside around our house. We were having a lot of fun getting used to the drone, and we've had it out a few times since then. We're certainly not experts at it yet.
Oh, definitely not experts.
Maybe once we do get much better at flying it and controlling the camera, we'll post another video with a little bit more stability to it.
Yeah, a little more stability.
So we're not making
maybe a lot more
dizzy.
Clashes, because I love when we crash.
No, we don't want to deliberately crash.
I love deliberately crashing.
We don't want to break it. So far, we haven't had to replace any of the propellers on it. We've been pretty good about that, even though we have run into a few trees.
A few.
Yes. And we're starting to bring it down. You can see a few glimpses of our house and the neighbor's house as we circle it around and bring it down. Attempting to land it as close to the takeoff and landing platform, which is just the storage box that we keep the drone and all of its equipment in. We started using that as the takeoff and landing platform. There we are. As you see, we're controlling it down. At this point, we have flown it several times over a 2-day period. So we've got a little bit of experience. So now attempting to land it on or as close to the platform or storage box as we can. You see the storage box was right there in front of me. And as I'm bringing it down, there you are, there I am. We're bringing it in for a landing, maneuvering it around, trying to get as close as we can. And sometimes we'd get it down close, but then it would go in the other direction. You see me moving around there, trying to get on the front side of it, trying to maneuver into position to bring it as close as possible to that landing box. How close are we going to get? Are we going to be able to land right on top of the box? Bringing it in, getting as close as we can, getting close.
I don't think we are.
Getting closer and bringing it in, almost down, trying to get it down there, trying to land it on the box or as close to the box as possible. We're close and we are down, just about 6 to 10 inches away, maybe a foot at most.
I'll take 5 inches.
So that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a pretty good
And that was a lot
land.
of fun. What did you think of the drone experience?
Oh yeah, definitely dizzy. Definitely dizzy.
Well, thanks for watching, and please subscribe and like our videos.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.